You walk around believing you are free. You make choices, you chase pleasures, you follow your instincts, and you call it freedom. But I tell you the truth. Freedom is not the absence of chains. It's the absence of masters within you. You think because no one holds a whip over your back, you are liberated. But the worst masters are the ones you do not see, the ones that live inside your appetites, your fears, your endless hunger to be satisfied. Everything is permissible, Paul said, but not everything is beneficial. 1 Corinthians 6:12. Freedom isn't the right to do whatever you want. It's the power to say no when your own desires try to enslave you. You confuse desire with destiny. You think because a door is open you must walk through it. You believe because you feel it you must obey it. But feelings are not freedom. They are winds, strong, unpredictable, and often leading you deeper into storms you were never meant to endure. True freedom is not following every craving. It's mastering them. It's standing still when your instincts scream to run. It's choosing silence when your ego demands to shout. It's walking away from the feast when your soul knows it's poison. Freedom is not indulgence. Freedom is discipline. And discipline is the art of choosing your future over your impulses. No one tells you this, but your impulses do not care about your soul. They only care about now, about comfort, about relief. They promise life but deliver chains. Every yes you give to a passing urge strengthens a habit that will one day demand more than you were willing to give. That is how slavery begins, quietly, internally. Freedom is not something you claim once and for all. It is something you defend, day after day, in silence, when no one is watching. The loudest voice in your head is not always the wisest. Sometimes the truest voice is the one you have taught yourself to ignore, the voice that says, "Enough." Jesus did not come to set you free so you could serve your cravings under a new banner. He came to make you new. If the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. John 8:36. Real freedom is transformation, not permission. It is the cutting away of everything that pretends to satisfy but secretly enslaves. It is refusing to live as a slave to what you can touch, taste, feel, control. It is the terrifying and beautiful act of surrendering your will, not to your urges, but to a higher wisdom that calls you to be more than your hungers, to be ruled by truth, not by appetite. That is freedom, and few ever find it. You are not free because you can choose. You are free when you can refuse, when you can stand before temptation, feel its pull, taste its sweetness, and still walk away. That is the test. That is the weight of true liberty. The world teaches you that freedom is expansion, addition, experience without limits. But in the kingdom of truth, freedom is subtraction. It is the sacred ability to say, "I do not need this to be whole," to walk past what glitters, to leave behind what calls your name. Freedom is restraint rooted in vision. It is clarity strong enough to endure loneliness, misunderstanding, and mockery without bowing. The slaves of this world are not the ones behind bars. They are the ones who cannot tell themselves no. They are ruled by unseen tyrants, lust, greed, vanity, fear. They think they are living, but they are only consuming, only obeying newer and shinier masters. And slowly, they trade their peace for addiction, their strength for applause, their purpose for pleasure. You were not made for that kind of small existence. You were made to reign over yourself first, before you try to conquer anything else. Freedom is not the right to self-destruction. It is the power to choose the higher road even when every fiber of your being screams for comfort. Do you really believe you are free, if every desire drags you like a puppet? If the sight of praise makes you change your truth? If the fear of rejection forces you to betray your soul? Freedom is not the absence of fear. It is the mastery of fear. It is the strength to feel everything and still obey what is right. Many call themselves strong because they are loud, because they are impulsive, because they do whatever they want. But strength without direction is destruction. Power without control is collapse. And liberty without restraint is not freedom. It is another kind of slavery, more invisible, more celebrated, and infinitely more dangerous. Self-mastery is not about becoming cold. It's about becoming clear. It's standing in the flood of your own emotions and choosing which ones deserve a voice. It's recognizing that not every craving is your true self speaking. Sometimes your hunger is just your wounds calling out. Sometimes your desire is just your fear disguised as passion. And the free man, the truly free man, is the one who can hear all of it, feel all of it, and still act from wisdom, not from impulse. Freedom is not the loudest roar inside you. Freedom is the still, unwavering choice to walk in truth when everything else demands you follow the crowd. You were born into a world that rewards slavery disguised as freedom. Indulge yourself, they whisper. If it feels good, it must be right. But feelings are fleeting. Pleasure is a momentary tyrant. And if you build your life on moments, you will collapse with them. The men and women who change the world are not those who surrendered to every whim. They are those who learned the ancient discipline of restraint, the secret strength of walking away, of choosing the harder, lonelier road when the easy path screamed their name. Not because they hated life, but because they loved it enough to protect its meaning. Jesus knew the weight of true liberty. He could have commanded the stones to become bread. He could have leapt from the temple and demanded angels to catch him. He could have bent the world to his will with a word. But instead, he chose hunger. He chose humility. He chose surrender to something greater than his momentary needs. That is the example you were meant to follow. Not a God who indulged himself, but a God who mastered himself. Freedom is not the ability to do anything you want. Freedom is the strength to say, I will not. And in that refusal, real power is born. You want to be powerful? Start by mastering the small battles no one sees. The battle to close your mouth when pride wants to speak. The battle to walk away when temptation calls your name. The battle to stay silent when gossip begs for your attention. True kings and queens are not crowned on public stages. They are crowned in private wars, when no one is cheering, when no one is watching, when only you and God know the cost. Freedom begins in the invisible moments where you choose discipline over indulgence, truth over comfort, purpose over pleasure. That is the soil where real greatness grows. There is a kind of slavery so deep you no longer feel the chains. It masquerades as happiness. It hides behind your scrolling, your appetites, your endless search for more. And by the time you realize it, your soul is already tired, empty, aching for something real. Jesus didn't come to condemn you for feeling hunger. He came to show you how to stop feeding it lies, to free you not just from external cages, but from the silent prisons inside your own skin. The prisons built from every yes you gave to things that drained you. The freedom he offers is not a sweeter poison. It is a new heart. You are not free until you can walk away from what owns your mind. Not just the obvious addictions, but the hidden ones. The need to be right, the craving for applause, the fear of being misunderstood. These are subtler masters, but they are masters nonetheless, and they dictate your actions far more than you realize. True freedom looks like standing in the middle of misunderstanding, criticism, temptation, and remaining unmoved. Not because you are numb, but because you are anchored to something deeper than their voices, something eternal. Something that does not bend with the winds of approval or rejection. The chains you cannot see are the hardest to break because they live inside your definitions of success, of worth, of happiness. They whisper that more is better, faster is better, louder is better. But Jesus did not sprint to glory. He walked to a cross, step by painful step, resisting every urge to escape, to defend himself, to prove his power. That is what real freedom looks like, not a man doing whatever he pleased, but a man fully surrendered to a purpose greater than his comfort. And if you ever want to taste true liberty, you must first be willing to sacrifice the illusions that have kept you small. You cannot be free if you are ruled by comfort. Comfort is a liar. It tells you that safety is the goal, that ease is the prize. But comfort is the cage that keeps you from growing, from risking, from stepping into the wild unknown where real life begins. Jesus did not promise you a life of comfort. He promised you a life of meaning. And meaning demands sacrifice. It demands the courage to say no to the small pleasures that numb you, so you can say yes to the greater purpose that calls you. Freedom is not found in escaping pain. Freedom is found in choosing the pain that transforms you. Every act of self-control is a declaration of independence. Every time you say no to what weakens you, you reclaim a piece of your soul. You step closer to the man or woman you were born to be. The world tells you to obey your desires. Jesus tells you to lead them, to master them, to teach them to bow to a truth higher than your hunger. That is the narrow road. Few find it because it requires the death of the false self, the self that demands, consumes, clutches. But if you find the courage to walk that road, you will discover a freedom so fierce, so unshakable, that no circumstance on earth can touch it. Freedom costs more than indulgence. It costs the easy satisfaction of doing whatever feels good in the moment. It costs the applause of those who still live enslaved to their urges. It costs the comfort of fitting in with a culture addicted to noise and consumption. But what you gain in return is priceless. Clarity, peace, purpose. Freedom is expensive because it is rare. It demands that you live awake, not asleep. Intentional, not impulsive. Rooted, not drifting. And few are willing to pay that price. But those who do, those who dare to lose their chains, find a life that is not just full but fierce. You think strength is domination, but real strength is domination of the self. Anyone can conquer others for a moment. Very few can conquer their own flesh for a lifetime. Jesus redefined power. He reigned not by force but by surrender. He ruled not by crushing enemies but by conquering the very human urge to retaliate, to rage, to assert superiority. True freedom is self-mastery born of surrender. It is not weakness to say no. It is not weakness to walk away. It is strength of the highest kind, the kind that cannot be taken, cannot be faked, and cannot be shaken by anything outside of you. There will be moments when the old chains will call your name, when the familiar comforts will whisper promises of easy satisfaction, when tiredness, loneliness, and fear will tempt you to trade your freedom for relief. But remember, you are not who you were. You are not a slave anymore. Freedom must be defended in the quiet battles no one celebrates. It is won in the choice to stay true when no one is watching. Every time you resist the easy road, you strengthen your real identity. Every time you choose purpose over pleasure, you sharpen your soul into something eternal, something unbreakable. Freedom is not a moment of rebellion. It is a lifetime of alignment. It is the daily decision to walk away from what looks easy but leads to death. It is choosing the hard conversations, the lonely paths, the uncomfortable silences over the cheap applause of a world addicted to its own destruction. True liberty is not the right to do whatever you want. It is the power to become who you were made to be. Not a slave to impulses, not a puppet of culture, but a living testimony that it is possible to live awake, anchored, alive. Few will understand it. Even fewer will choose it. But the ones who do change everything. You were not created to be a prisoner of your own cravings. You were created to be a force of will, a voice of clarity in a world drowning in noise. Freedom is not an accident. It is the result of 1,000 small deaths. Deaths to the parts of you that crave approval, comfort, indulgence. Every no you speak to what weakens you is a yes to the man or woman you are becoming. Every refusal to bow to the moment strengthens the future you were designed to live. You are not here to survive your desires. You are here to master them, to rule over them with wisdom, with patience, with relentless love for the life you were called to build. Jesus never called you to a life of reckless indulgence. He called you to a life of radical alignment. Alignment with a truth bigger than your pain, your urges, your fleeting emotions. He called you to live so deeply anchored in purpose that temptation loses its power to move you. That is the real miracle, not walking on water, not healing the sick, but standing still in the face of your own storm and saying, I belong to something greater. Freedom is not the absence of temptation. It is the presence of conviction stronger than temptation's voice. And it is that conviction that sets you apart in a world that has forgotten how to stand. This is the truth no one tells you. The path to freedom is narrow, lonely, and filled with the echoes of your own battles. You will lose some things: comfort, approval, the shallow thrills of instant pleasure. But what you gain is beyond anything you can lose. You gain yourself. You gain a soul no longer tossed by the winds of desire. You gain a life lived awake, deliberate, fierce. Jesus did not come to make you comfortable. He came to make you free. And freedom is not given cheaply. It is earned in the quiet places where your no to the world becomes a resounding yes to who you were always meant to be. So now you know. You are not free because you can do what you want. You are free when you can say no to what wants to destroy you. You are free when you can choose silence over noise, patience over rage, purpose over pleasure. You are free when you no longer bow to every craving that rises within you. This is the battle. This is the victory. And when you stand firm, when you choose conviction over comfort, when you master your soul instead of being mastered by it, then, and only then, will you understand what Jesus meant when he said, "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free."